Hey folks, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're taking a look at this funky knife. We've got a sheep's foot style blade here and this really funky looking handle here. It looks like a pupating moth, or not pupating yet. It looks like the worm stage, the caterpillar stage of some weird moth. Enlan makes this knife. They actually have two of them that are fairly similar. The other one's a cyan, a really light green kind of color handle instead of this darker color with a different style blade. But this is meant just to be, I think it's meant just to be a cool knife. A lot of people might think it's kind of ugly, but I think there's a group of people who are going to find it quite interesting. And it comes in at a very low price with a reasonable steel blade. So if you're in the market for something like this, and even if you're just interested or curious, then stick around for the full review coming at you right now. Okay, so this knife has a sort of a really dark tan and a really dark gray, not quite black G10. Enlan makes another knife, a very similar type pattern, but not exactly the same. And it's got more of a, it's got a hollow grind and just a different kind of blade shape and very similar kind of handle shape. I'll show you a picture of that. So if you like, that kind of shaped blade better, you might want to buy one of those. It costs like 5% more than this knife does. I'll put links down below for both of them. I bought mine at GearBest, paid for it with my own shekels, and it took a while to get here, but I've got it, and I kind of like it. I like these funky knives. This is one of those knives that some people are going to say, "Oh, I hate that thing. That's so ugly," and the next guy's going to say, "That thing's kind of funky. It's kind of cool," And whichever side you're on, you're right, because it's just an opinion thing. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But if you want to buy one, they're not that expensive. It is $14.81 US, about $20 Canadian, but GearBest doesn't ship to Canada. If I find other vendors, I'll link those down below for Canadians to be able to buy them. But then CBSA might take it away. They seem to be taking away about 25% of the packages. Knives do get through. Most of them do get through, but some of them don't get through. In euros, it's about 13.15, and in British pounds, it's 11.82. And that's just today. Currencies change rates all the time, but that's roughly the price you're going to pay for this thing. 8CR13 MOV stainless steel, so Rockwell 57-ish, something like that. We've got a satin blade. We've got a high saber, almost not quite a full flat, but a lot of knives that would be a full flat grind because of how high that is. Blade's pretty thick too. We've got full liners. We've got a back spacer back here and thumb studs to actuate the knife. And it works very, very well. I did have to adjust the pivot a little bit, but it's got a proper non-free spinning pivot, which is a really good thing. And it's just easy to use. It's a little bit harder with the left hand. You don't have quite as much room to get your thumb behind there. The space between the handle and the thumb stud is less on the left side than it is on the right side. Very clearly less. So if you're a lefty, yeah, you're used to this. You've seen it so many times. It just happens on so many knives. We've got these little holes all the way down here on the handle. It's just a funky looking knife. We've got a big lanyard hole. You can fit 550 paracord through there if you wanted to. You can fit 1100 paracord through there. The liner lock, it's, let's zoom back in again. The liner lock is engaging on this one a little bit late. I would have said that if this was passing my table and I worked for the company, I would want to put it back and say, it needs to get redone. This wouldn't pass my personal quality control, although lockup is solid. There's no blade placed side to side, up and down, and there is some life in this liner lock. It'll still, wear down to this side and lock up solidly for quite some time, just not as long as it should be. On a brand new knife, I'd like it to be right there instead of, where it is. Well, you can't really shove it over. Just when you do that, you see where the lockup really ends up, and that's just a little later than it should be. really nice finger choil up here. So you can sneak up and get your hand up here, and you can put your thumb on the jimping there if you want to. Up in here, if you want to have a lot of power, you're pushing with your thumb right on that spot. That works very well. The knife is actually very comfortable on a reverse grip. Your thumb comes up along the back there and it feels really, really good. Your regular fist grip or hammer grip, saber grip, pinch grip, all the kind of grips, they work very well, not a problem. My hands are kind of large, not just on the borderline of extra large, so you might be able to see what your hands are in relation to mine. That's between 10 and 11 in the European 6 scale. And so it's good to see that and be able to, decide if you think your hands might fit this or not. I think most people, unless you've got small hands or if you've got a medium to small women's hands, you're going to find this just a little bit big. So let's go over all the dimensions. The cutting edge on this knife is 7.5 centimeters, 2.96 inches. The blade length, so tip to the G10, is 7.88 centimeters, 3.1 inches. So if you're living where there's a 3-inch law, you can actually take a file and just take a little bit down off this tip. You're not going to change the functioning of the knife at all, and you'll be within your 3-inch rule. The blade thickness is 3.29 millimeters, which is 0.1295 inches. The blade depth, and I measured it right here at the apex of this point right there to the tip of the cutting edge, 3.6 centimeters, 1.18 inches. The thickness of the edge right behind the grind is 0.58 millimeters. That's 0.0225 inches. So that's thick and robust. It's not so thick that it's a problem though. So that's not going to stop me from buying this knife at all. I forgot to measure the angle of the grind, so I'll put that information on the screen right here. I like the knife to be 20 degrees per side. I suspect this one's a little bit more like 25 per side roughly, but you'll see that on the screen. The handle length, so the end of the G10 to the end of the G10 here is 11.13 centimeters. That's 4.38 inches. And then the grip area, and actually you can get the grip up into the blade here because this forward choil up to the end here is 10.8 centimeters, 4.25 inches. The handle thickness, 1.73 centimeters, that's 0.681 inches. So a lot of people want a knife that's 1/2 inch or less, so it's just a little bit thicker than that. The handle depth is biggest right there, and that is 3.13 centimeters, 1.23 inches. And when it's closed, it's over here actually, and the greatest depth is 3.48 centimeters, 1.37 inches. The total length of this knife is only 19.1 centimeters, 7.52 inches. So a 7.5 inch knife with, a roughly 3-inch blade and a 4.5 inch handle. There's no skeletonizing, so it's kind of heavy back on the handle. So the balance point is right there. And let me get a zoom back out so we can see that better. So that's not bad. I do like the balance point to be a little bit more forward from that, but not bad at all. One thing that you noticed on here, there's no pocket clip. So you need to wear it in a sheath. I'll show you that. Here's a pouch like this. The knife fits in there very well. And you just put that on your belt. Works great. And like I showed you before, the other knife is the same way. The one that's got the hollow grind, it doesn't have a pocket clip either. It's surprisingly comfortable in hand and surprisingly good grip for hard cutting, especially like I mentioned before, you put your thumb right there and you can do some really hard cutting, putting a lot of pressure because the blade thickness is that 3.3 millimeters basically. So that's a really good thing if you need to use it that way. It's hefty, chunky, tough. It's either got a cool factor or it's got a yuck factor. It's either ugly or it's cool. You decide. The one thing that I really dislike about this, and I've already mentioned it, is that the lockup is too late. It should be a little bit earlier. But unless you're going to make this your regular EDC carry, that's not a concern if this is just going to be one of those cool knives that you show off every once in a while, to get a conversation started. You bring it out and the guys say, oh, that's an ugly knife, or hey, that's a funny looking knife or a cool knife, whichever you want. For that kind of use and for this price, hey, no problem at all suggesting this knife for purchase. I'll try to put links that I get a commission on just so that you can help out this channel if you want to. If I don't get any commission or anything off of it, I'll note that in the links below. Very good price for what you get. It's got washers, and one bronze washer and one nylon washer, and that works just fine. It did take a little adjustment and cleaning up, but I didn't have to take it apart. There's no skeletonizing or anything, so I'm not going to show you pictures of the inside. There's nothing special to see out there. And the backspacer is small enough that this knife is still very easy to clean should it get a little bit dirty in there. I don't mind backspacers at all for cleaning. In fact, I find them easier to clean than knives that have an open pillar construction. So, if you're looking for a knife like this, the EW079 or the EW078 are a reasonable choice, especially for the price point. You just can't beat that for something this funky. So thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.